And welcome, and thanks for joining me on yet another Tuesday morning coffee hour. The date is August the 18th, it's 10 a.m. It's humid, hot, lots of lightning this morning, enough to wake the dog up at 4 in the morning and jump on the bed. Oh well. But I hope you are all doing well and are all keeping safe. And again, thanks for joining me. It's been an interesting almost 2 weeks, I suppose, since we last met. I had a week off, which didn't go quite as I planned, but it was okay. Managed to do some reading and some of the bits and pieces, and then on Sunday we had our normal Eucharist, and we had our drive-through communion, which is going really well. Good morning, Karen. Good to see you. And so the numbers kind of went down, but they've kind of gone up again. So it was good to see everybody, and it is a chance to, in a small way, to build the community and remind ourselves of who we are together. So good morning to Laurie and to Mike and Jennifer and Kit and maybe Bill. But it was an interesting time Sunday, and it was weird because it was one of those rains that I've only ever seen in Florida, where you could be looking across the road and it's just rain. It's almost like just a heap of water while you're standing in the sun. It's just really, really odd. Good morning to Vern, and good morning to Holly, and good morning to Sue. It's good to see you all. So, what's going on at St. Clement's? Not a lot. It's the same old, the new normal, which we don't want to become normal. This is something about where we resist getting used to the new regime because we want to get back together as a community, and we do want to make sure that we remind ourselves of what it was like not that long ago. And to that point, I went through some photos, and it was really striking, the difference. Look back at what we did in the parish hall in February, and compared, it's not been used since at all. I walk through. I know Vern walks through. I know Margot walks through. And I know Father Lewis walks through, but it's just a walk-through space at the moment. The kitchen, unused. It's where Vern prepares the flowers before he brings them out into the church. It's just really eerie. And like I say, we need to remind ourselves of our purpose and who we are as a people. And thankfully, we are keeping connected through the telephone, through this kind of medium. And we do a pretty good job, a very good job, I would say, of keeping in contact. So keep that up. Yes, I know we're all suffering from COVID fatigue, and we wish things were different, but we have to remind ourselves this too shall pass. Regarding the country's COVID-19 numbers, from the CDC this morning, I got for the country as a whole 5,382,125 positive, with a horrible number of 169,350 deaths. It's awful. And we need to remind ourselves the person, the face, the life behind every one of those numbers. What is worrying for me, though, is that there is a huge rise in the number of young people not only testing positive, but becoming ill. And this is a problem because of the opening of schools. I mean, the debate still goes on. In Florida itself, there is it just Hillsborough County? At least a union is going to court to try and protect both the teachers and the children because they think it's just the wrong thing to do. And here's something from Fox News this morning, which I cut and pasted. The number and infection rate of COVID-19 cases among children have steadily, that's in quotes for some reason, increased between March and July. The Centre for Disease Control and Prevention said in recently updated guidance. The government agency said Friday that the true infection rate is hard to nail down due to the lack of widespread testing and the prioritization of testing for adults and those with severe illness. Now, when I read that, what's the colloquial definition of madness? And it's the doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And this is where we are. There are other countries that have done things which have proven to be effective in not only maintaining where the disease is, but reducing numbers in a fantastic way. Why is it so impossible for us to do the same thing? Why? Why do we still have people saying absolutely nutty things? Why does the president need to find the weirdest person on the planet to be the one to advocate something really dumb? I don't know. It's just weird. According to Kit, teachers in Pasco County have gone to court as well. There are proven ways of dealing with this, and Dr. Fauci and the scientists and those who are doing all the research, which of course is ongoing as we find more and more, you must be bored to death saying the same thing. Wear a mask, social distance. And yet there are still too many people who think it's some kind of weird conspiracy, or it impinges on their freedom or something really weird like that. So I don't know, is there a collective madness going on? Is it something that people just, it is such a big thing that they can't get their heads around, so it's either fake or it doesn't affect them? I don't know. Let me tell you a story to put in perspective that number of 169,350 dead. The last time Miriam Castro saw her son, Herman, he was in the hospital. A mask covered his tear-stricken face as he sobbed over a FaceTime call. He kept saying, "I love you, Ma. I love you, Ma. Take care of yourselves. This is no game," Mrs. Castro recalled. He cried and cried. Herman J. Castro, a 32-year-old manager of a McDonald's in Central Florida, died 2 days later. He's among the more than 100 adults aged 25 to 44 who died of COVID-19 in Florida last month. It's a tragedy beyond words. Nobody of that age, 32, no one between the ages of 25 or 44 should be dying of anything that is easy to contain. And yet, here we are. And yet we're having arguments about should there be sports which turn out to be contact sports, turn out to be ones where sweat and heavy breathing, and unless, they're going to wear masks every second of the game, are the norm. I mean, the obvious answer is hell no. Why would you want to put your kids, your young adults or whatever through that? Is sport at some kind of entertainment or whatever you want to call it worth people becoming ill and dying? Just one person. It reminds me of the Bible, when God says he won't bring the wrath down if there are just a few people who are found to be good. Here, why would we want to risk? And we know what's happening now because kids just can't help themselves. Young adults can't help themselves. Proper aged adults can't help themselves when it comes to mass settings. Let's party on down. And, what is it? Is it some kind of death wish? I don't know. But I think the answer is pretty clear. No sports. Unless schools can prove that they're pretty much airtight in terms of how they move people around the buildings, then they shouldn't be at school. And I know that there's some kind of psychological thing, but kids can always catch up on those things. If they're really seriously ill or die, they're not going to catch up on anything. and why risk that? And again, the sort of exhibit B is the photograph a girl took of her high school where the corridors were packed, no social distancing, and most of them didn't have a mask on. And then all of a sudden, wow, what happened? Oh, yeah, a lot of them became COVID-19 positive. Wonder why? Meanwhile, because she leaked the photo, she was suspended. I think it was her mom who actually posted the photo, and that's been reversed since. Barking mad. It really is. Anyway, so here we are. This is where we are at this time, in this place, in the 21st century, with all our knowledge, and we act like cavemen. Bread and circuses. What's this? Some young people point their sights on becoming famous professional athletes. Ah, yeah, that's kind of interesting you mentioned that. I'm going to kind of talk about that in a parabolic way in a few minutes. And Laurie says in Miami-Dade, we're going back to school online August 31st, and we'll reevaluate September 28th. Yes, it's what we're doing as a church. I think it's what we're doing as a diocese as well. I mean, the bishop keeps sending letters saying where we are, and to remind ourselves that this hasn't gone away, to lull ourselves into a false sense of security because we may not have met anybody who's COVID positive, isn't a good way to live one's life at the moment. I mean, within our church now, we've had 3 COVID positive cases. Fortunately, they're doing well, and one of them is now back at work. But it's the thing against me more than anything is that they can go to school because they're fine, but they can still be asymptomatic. That's the other thing that seems to get lost in the mix. Bread, I like that phrase, bread and circuses. I've never heard that before, but I can see what it means. So, should schools be opening? Well, it got me thinking about education and its purpose, and specifically the question, what's education for? But then because of the Sermon on the Mount and doing the Beatitudes that we've done so far in the Bible study, and the couple of sermons this past couple of weeks which have linked into that and kind of fed what I've been thinking about, they've pushed me to look at the very core of my being, that to be. What is it for me to be? Why do I think the way I think? What are my experiences which have caused me to grow up to be the person I've become? And so it's asked me to push back even further to ask the question, why are we here at all? And we can look at it in various ways. We can look at it in different philosophical ways, but I want to look at it in a Christian way. And one of the best Christian approaches I've heard was from my home parish priest, Father John Martin of blessed memory, who said this: we are here to adorn the planet like the baubles on a Christmas tree. And I just love the imagery this gives. Yeah, you all know that I'm kind of bar humbug. Do I have it here? No, it's in the other room. My bar humbug cup mat is in the other room. But even I'm softening. Father Lewis and Vern are working really, really hard to kind of humanize me when it comes to Christmas, so I don't just sort of sit in the corner sneering, going meh, meh, bar humbug, like some kind of Grinch on steroids. I'm kind of softening to the idea that it may not be such a bad thing. But this imagery, even me in my Grinch-like way can to see the beauty of this, that we are here to adorn the planet like the baubles on a Christmas tree. And I just think of that, a beautiful tree, and we're there. A couple of years ago now, I think it was, well, this year was a bit of a wash for whatever reason. But a couple of years ago, we took time And I think it was Kit who invited us to bring special ornaments for the tree that had significance for us. And they were placed on it. And every one of those, I would have guessed, had told a story. We're the same. God has created each and every one of us. None of us are an accident. And we are here to adorn the planet, each and every one of us with our own unique story. And I really love that. And so just think about that for a moment. That what is your story? And the background you bring it and everything else, that you beautify this place. And without you, the tree would be incomplete. I mean, the analogy, it can go on and on and on, because while I was walking the dog this morning, I was thinking, well, what about Christians in all of this? And then I thought of tree lights. And I know there are various kinds of tree lights, and then there are those trees which are, they call them pre-lit or something, where you just press the button or turn on a button, a bunch of lights come on. And some of them are really, really posh, and they have remote controls because you can do different colors, clear, flashing all over the place, different colors, etc. But just think of the old-fashioned string of lights. I think Christians are more like that we're joined together by one cable. We're connected. And the source of everything, the way you plug it in, is the Holy Spirit. So in some special way, we're plugged in to the Trinity, the Holy Trinity. The other part of it is that if one of the bulbs blows, if something happens to one of the bulbs, it affects everything else. I know there are some strings of Christmas lights that if one bulb blows, the other ones stay in. But I'm thinking of the older ones, because the nature of who we are is if that one falls, we all fall. If we're all lit, then we're all lit. Lit in the sense of that we exude the light of Christ, not that we're drunk or anything. Although we should be drunk in the love of the Lord. So there's that as well. So Christians believe that we are here as a creative act of love, an outpouring of joy that bursts out of this triune Godhead, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Well, I say that we believe it, but do we? do we believe this? Do I think about this and realize and recognize the joy that my creation brought me personally, the joy that each and every one of you's creation brought? Those people who having it really, really rough, that God has put you on the planet and he loves it. There's a party going on because of you and for you. So do we really believe this? Well, I would suggest that most of the time we don't, because the way we live our lives, and if we believe this, it would alter society to reflect the love and joy that we have. But we don't alter society. At least I don't think we do. And neither do we seem to have any kind of real vision, as I'm talking about the church as a whole, beyond a vision of the world beyond what we've inherited. Now, I know there are movers and shakers within the church who do have that wider cast vision, and they encourage us to sort of understand it and go with it. But those people are few and far between. And when I think of the church, I want to expand it to the wider Christian circle of other denominations. And it seems to me that, for the most part, we just buy into the present way of doing things, as if they are kind of completely God mandated. And so we've stopped being radical. We've stopped being the joyous people who are looking to something way better. We've stopped looking at charities as sort of evil necessities. We've come to sort of accept them as the norm, and things like that are really frightening. That we're just playing our part by sticking some money or buying some food for something. We should be thinking about the iniquities that go with that, and the people who are being served by those charities. Wonderful, but what should we be doing for them to improve their lot? How can we have all these iniquities, these injustices? And this again is the kind of core of who we are as a person. Where do we get our ideas of what justice is about? Um, why do we go along with the status quo? What is God actually asking us to do? And when I was thinking about this, and I was thinking about what is the meaning of education? How did I put it? I wrote it down here just to remind me. What is education for? I thought about the millennials. That group of people, they're supposed to be born between 1985 and something. Because there's a lot being said about the millennials, that they're kind of lazy, that they expect to be able to get on in their jobs and careers within like weeks, or at least just within months of having started on a career path that they've never done before, and they're wondering why they're not promoted and this, that, and the other. And there's a whole bunch of stuff that's been said about them. They're almost like the punchline for most jokes to do with the problems of the Western world, if nothing else. But there's a real sociological phenomena that's been researched regarding millennials to do with their parents and the parenting skills that were brought to bear on them, what society expected of them when they were growing up as children, and all the influences that have made them be who they are. We're back to that question of being again. And I remember the first time I thought this was a joke. The first time I heard that there was a competition taking place, and I think it was to do with soccer, and nobody kept score, and at the end, everybody won, because to have winners and losers was to create a kind of tier which would exalt one group of people and demean the other. And yet, when this was happening, the kids knew the score. The kids knew who were winners and losers, and they really were disappointed, for want of a better word, when everybody got an award. Another thing was that they were being told time and time and time again, as kind of encouragement, good morning, Paula, that you can be anything you want to be. It's is it a kind of Disney coda that is used? I don't think it's just Disney. It's become something of a mantra. You see it in lots of TV adverts. Become the person you were meant to be. You see it in a lot of absolute junk Christian theology. If only you believe, but not in the Peter Pan sense. It was to do with this kind of, what's it called? Power of attraction thing, garbage that's come into the Christian faith at some levels, that only if you believe, the universe is going to turn itself around as if it's some kind of conscious entity, and you will get what you want. But if it doesn't, it's because you don't believe. And there's a kind of negative way of doing that as well. If you believe negative thoughts about yourself, well, those are going to be kind of karmic way of seeing things. How far have we moved in such a short period of time to accept that level of garbage, and also to raise kids with this weird notion that you can do anything, because it's patently not true. I'm sorry I didn't switch my phone off. Let me just do that. So there are no winners or losers. Is that true? Nope. You can be what you want to be in life. Is that true? Nope. The sense of immediacy for everything, to quote the rock band Queen, I want it all and I want it now, is seen to be, well, society's changed in terms of technology. You want to see a movie? Well, you don't have to book tickets to the cinema anymore. You just go online and somebody somewhere's hacked a copy of it, and you can watch it. Um, you can virtual reality can take you anywhere in the world, which is just a headset. There's no need to wait for things anymore, and this immediacy, this lack of this immediacy has caused a generation, at least one generation of people, to expect everything now, as in everything now. So even things like Facebook and other social media, because as my little brother reminds me, Facebook is for old people. But the other, for young people, social media, where you get lots and lots of friends, but they're not really friends. They're not even people you know. But every time you get a hit with a friend, or they respond to something you've done on social media, you get a hit of dopamine, the feel good drug in your brain. And that heightens rewards. As Paula says, it's all about feeling good. We're all about escaping where and who we are in favor of what we want to make us feel good. People are ruled by their reward mechanisms. Yes, I would agree. Our avatars, the front that we put online, may have no bearing in reality. You know, the kind of the sad stereotype of the fat young man in his basement being this living this glamorous alter ego life isn't just for the basement dwelling lonely people. It's for people who otherwise seem successful in their real non-avatar worlds, but who lack something. They just don't feel it. Um, and all this is new. This we've never experienced this in the world before. Uh, you know, even I know even from people who want to learn to play instruments, you have to put the time in, and a lot of people give up because they suddenly haven't become massive technicians in playing a guitar after 2 weeks, a month, 2 months, or playing a saxophone or a flute or any other instrument or any other skill that is worth developing. People give up because they've not been taught that the goal has a time, a length of time attached to it. I want it all. I want it now. The question here is it the millennials' fault? Is it the youngsters who see the world and live the world? Is it their fault? And the answer is no. It's not their fault. Part of who we are, when I reflect on myself, is also built up from the distortions and the flaws and the untruths. Not lies, it's just that the truth wasn't there to be found at the time. And the societal demands of the period when I was growing up. Um, and but I need to recognize that within myself, and I need to sort of clean out the garbage and find out what is good. It's working through the good stuff that is old and the good stuff that is new. Very biblical concept there. And for these young people, I don't think they know where to start. So what's happened? Well, one of the weird things is that when you talk to these young people, the main thing they're looking for is what we would call purpose. You know, they are asking the existential questions of why am I here? Is there any meaning? What's the point? And they try and find it in their jobs, but yet they still build themselves up with the expectations that the rewards for their work will be meaningful, that they will get the promotions, that they will achieve whatever it is that they feel is the purpose of their work. But jobs don't work like that. You have to put in the graft. You start off at the bottom, um, and then you build up your kind of resume by putting in the time and developing the expertise, I should say, and getting to know people who recognize your talents and who then put you forward, move you forward. And at the same time, it's a dog eat dog world where, you know, you may be the best at it, but you still don't get put forward because either you don't know the right people or you've put somebody's nose out of joint. Um, that works both in the church and perhaps even worse in the music industry. There are so many talented musicians. It doesn't matter if it's piano, musical instruments of every sort. Just go online and just put in, I don't know, 8-year-old guitar maestro, and you'll still see some kids doing incredible things on the guitar at the age of 8. Are they going to, if they stick with it, are they going to become super professional achievers within that? The answer is probably no, because it's not just a matter of talent, it's a matter of who the people you know. Do you have the right look? In this consumerized age of music, even within the Christian music industry, Christian music, contemporary Christian music is a product. Just listen to a Christian radio channel and you know how boring it is because everything is almost the same. And the same is called bland. It's just absolutely boring. The other one thing they have in common is that the videos they produce are, for the most part, boring. There's no theological nuance in them. There's no kind of pushing people because it's not allowed. Because that would put people off buying the product. And as all these companies, the executives are only there to make money, it's nothing to do with the Christian message. It's to do with the bottom line. And so even within Christianity, we've seen this dependence on the common denominator of capitalism being the driver of something which should be faith-driven. Paula says, entitlement is not an age-dependent behavior at all. At all. True. But within this kind of demographic thing, there is this, it's well documented that there are some people who feel, I've been working at this in this job for 3 months and I've not been promoted. What's going on? And that wouldn't be somebody of my age range, for example. Entitlement for people of my age comes from a different place. But entitlement is a bad thing for the most part anyway. If you think it's just because of your sheer existence, then there's something weird about that. Now, so if people have hooked into a society that's pretty shallow, which is what it is, and that offers little, which is what it does, that is basically based on entertainment and recreation, which is what it is, with friendships that are often shallow, and doing a job that they hoped would fulfill them, well, there's little to engage in, which is perhaps one of the reasons why there are more suicides coming in from the millennials at the moment. That is the demographic where drug and alcohol and just suicide-related deaths are absolutely on the rise. With that being the case, and it is true that that's the demographic rise, and I can point at other groups as well. Within the white 50-plus population, there's a huge rise in suicides, and there are other reasons for that. Some of them, like you were talking about, Paula, not being age dependent. But within this group, who seems to straddle this world between being totally tech and being people like me who've watched the tech develop. Where is the purpose in life? And as a priest and as a pastor and as a Christian, that makes me ask the question, so what has Christianity got to offer? And I'm not saying to offer as a kind of psychological balm, but at the deepest level, what is the meaning of our existence, which gets us back to education and what that's for. Because if we get it wrong from the get-go as to what education is, then we are setting kids up to not recognize their own worth, to believe that failure isn't an option, to believe that friendships are always shallow, and that at the end of it all there is no purpose. Within Christianity, we understand that we are each individual is of the utmost value because Christ died for us. And that has to be a foundational message. Not only that we believe in ourselves, but that we transfer every time we see another person. It just flickers into our brains that there's another bauble on the tree. Someone created by God to adorn his creation. Someone for whom Jesus died. And just think how transformative that would be if we began to live that. How it would change our approach to people who are struggling to find purpose, when a lot of that purpose is to do with their own lack of belief in who they are, the lack of trust of people who they can call out to when things go wrong, because it's life, it does. There was a really, really sad statistic a few months ago, it may have been maybe a year ago now, which talked about the number of people who thought a person could shout out to for help if needed. In other words, a good friend. And it used to be 5 and 6 people. It's now maybe 2. The lack of trust. And we lived in such a wired world now that people don't even communicate because they're too busy on the phone. And the body's there, but the mind isn't. And it's because this thing is so addictive. It has an immediacy to it, which does the pinging dopamine things in our heads, which having a real relationship doesn't, because a real relationship takes time. Sometimes relationships have a bit of anger and jealousy and fed upness about them, which a phone, when you get a like for something, doesn't. It does have a downside, because if somebody unfriends you, or somebody does the downward thumb thing, and dislikes something you've written, or criticizes, that causes problems. And a lot of people aren't able to take that psychologically. So Christianity begins with hope. It begins with joy. It begins with love. And it begins with us. That Christ loves me so much. God loves me so much that I am essential for the tree. I am a bauble that's been created and crafted with love and joy. And everybody else is as well. I'm also part of that string of lights that we're all lit up to glorify God in this world. But if one of us falls, if that light grows dim, we're all responsible for helping that light to shine again. Because we're all these little lights, and my little light's going to shine, but I'm going to help you shine your light as well. I know it's a cheesy song, but yeah, that has more theological truth than a lot of the more modern stuff. Ugh. Yeah, I can't believe it. Somebody who loves rock music and modern contemporary music. I have such a downer on modern contemporary Christian music because it's so awful. It really is. Anyway, back to education. What is it all for? I think it's the basis of education is to create rounded human beings. And it's not there to create a product, which is what it seems to do now. The whole idea of a liberal education isn't to produce people who are going to vote Democrats, because that's not the word liberal, or liberalism in terms of Republican. It's to create a rounded person who has an understanding of where everything fits in to the concept of what life's about. Life is tough for most people. Only a few are on the kind of the elite status, but for most other people, it's a tough thing. And to have an understanding of your history, the concepts of other religions and philosophies, good literature and poetry, all these things which don't add to producing a product, you know. I think we've lost out. Music as well. We're losing out. We're losing our humanity. We're losing what it is that creates us as a bauble, and recognize our uniqueness, recognize our creatureliness, recognize everything around us, because we're too busy either testing or we're creating a product for the machine. It's a bit Pink Floydy there. If you want to know where that comes from, Welcome to the Machine. Wish You Were Here album. Welcome, my son. Welcome to the machine. And in the background, it's a really good song. So let's pick up on a couple of the messages. So Tom says, well, hi, Tom. I love that analogy. Kit, not cheesy, good. So are we going to hear This Little Light of Mine in the church anytime soon? I'll ask Father Lewis. Paula, education as a means of producing interchangeable parts for the economy. That trajectory is a thing in a lot of... Yeah, it is. Yeah. In the UK when I was... so this is in the mid-70s before I left school. And we leave school at 16. We had careers. Came from a very working class town. It used to be full of cotton mills and engineering companies. Most of the cotton mills had gone, but there were still some engineering companies. And the education in the school I went to was junk. But we still had careers. So we had one of the teachers, he was the math teacher, and he was our careers teacher. And basically our career choices were which factory were you going to go and work in, or which store were you going to become the checkout person in. And that was it. There was no sense of aspiration. It was all to do with a function at the end. And when you think about it, the Western world is pretty good at sort of perpetuating that, because when we meet people, we don't say, well, we say hello, and we say, what do you do? What do you do? I have an answer for that. I live and breathe and have my being. That's what I do. Which throws people, because what they're asking is, what is your job? What is your function? And we're so tied. And this is one of the reasons why a lot of these men my age and older are beginning to commit suicide, because they don't know what their function is. They've lost their job. The career they had no longer exists. They find themselves having been the breadwinner and growing up into an environment where the man is the breadwinner, dun, da, da, and they lose their place, and it breaks them. That's terrible. It's terrifying, and it's true. So, who are you? What do you do? Brings us again back to, who am I? What is my being? What are the things that made me me? What gives me my accent, which is completely weird now, apparently. I was told I was Australian. I've been told I'm Irish, but when you look at me, you just see Irish, so that's okay. But when I call back to England, I'm thinking, whoa, I don't sound like that, because I don't sound like the people where I was brought up anymore. And I don't sound too American, although there are some places where I'm beginning to slip. I asked Father Lewis the other day, I said, how do you pronounce the word WADDLE? And he said, waddle. And I said, so the old way that buildings used to be built, how would you pronounce WATTLE? And he thought about it. He said, waddle. I said, so you waddle when you walk down the street, or you can waddle, not him personally, and you can create waddle and daub, as in wattle and daub. And I'm thinking, huh. So I've started listening to myself when I'm speaking, and I'm slipping, my English accent's disappearing. Oh! And I recognized earlier on, for those of you who notice these things, I split an infinitive. I think I said to know some, I don't know, to something. It's tragic. So Bill is a bulb. I'm a bulb. Yes, we're all bulbs, and you can take it in different ways. That we are planted in the soil of the word of the Lord, and we grow, as in a plant bulb. But I don't do plants. I kind of, no, these things not green, not at all. So hopefully that will have gotten you thinking. There's an Americanism, gotten. In English, it would have been, let's see, hopefully that will have made you think. And it will kind of perpetuate your journey into yourself to do with who am I and what's my raison d'etre, what's my reason for being. And if you ever come across people who seem down on themselves, take them seriously. Don't just assume that they're doing it for just to sort of have their own egos brushed. Now, it could well be, but just don't brush them aside. Kit, not to worry, Father A. You'll not lose your English accent anytime soon. Oh, Father Lewis, this little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. So, Kit, if you want to ask that question again, Father Lewis is on. He's open to negotiations, I'm sure. I want to see him doing it, though. I want to see him at the front of the altar, singing it solo. Is it an action song? I think it is, isn't it? This but not do that, otherwise this will be struck down as copyright and stuff. But I'd like to hear it as well. I would, yeah. So what is the time? Ooh, I've got another 12 minutes. Definitely not losing your accent. Oh, thanks, Renee. So if you have any questions, will we hear it in church anytime soon, Father Lewis? Ask Kit. And the response, it be, it's an action song. Okay, Father Lewis knows all the actions. So, yeah. I think we as a church would all agree that Father Lewis should show us the actions so we can learn. This is my innocent face. Oh, it's an action song that needs a frog puppet. And we know of a Mr. Hoppy who can make the frog puppets come to church. Yeah, this is getting better. I can see me not doing a sermon one week because I want to be behind the camera laughing. There you go. Oh, that is so nice, Kit. He cannot refuse. That is so smooth. I'd love to hear Father Lewis singing it. His little light always shines through. Oh, I love it. Yes, that is so true. And yes, he should. We'd love to hear it. Father Lewis, it's a fait accompli. Please get your voice going and learn all the words and the actions. And maybe not this Sunday, although it's only Tuesday, but maybe the Sunday afterwards. We could do it as, where would we put it? It could be an action sermon, couldn't it? Yes. It'd be shorter than my sermons, so that would please just about everyone. I wouldn't have to speak, which would please me. It's a win-win. Yeah, I like the idea. I think it was one of those God moments of inspiration where it just came to me, and the rest, as they say, is history. All right, we will make that happen, won't you, Father Lewis? All right, so how is everyone? Has anybody got any questions? There's your sermon. You explain the Christmas tree analogy and then go to Father Lewis. Yeah, and over to Father Lewis. This is getting better and better. All right, Kit says, there's your sermon. You explain the Christmas tree analogy and then go to Father Lewis and Froggy Puppet. I agree. Tom says, Father Lewis, a star is born. YouTube viral sensation. I agree again. Father Lewis, will this be a gradual or, oh no, not a sermon? Yes, yes. And Renee, yes, sounds like a good plan. Yeah, we can do that. It's season of Pentecost, so we don't have to follow the readings for a sermon. So yeah, I could do the very short Christmas tree analogy. And over to you. Josh on the piano just does some kind of jazzy riff to lead you into this little star of mine. Yes, Paula. Welcome, everyone. We take requests. Oh dear. I need one of those cheesy microphones from the 70s, like a pencil with a bit of wire out, because it's like a very early radio microphone, and you just hold them like this, and you got to wobble your head while you sing. Oh yes. Yeah, I love the idea. It wouldn't only be instructive; it would be fun, and I think we could do with some fun at the moment. Everything's a bit too serious. All right. So what time is it now? We've still got 8 minutes left. Any questions on anything that we've talked about today? Any observations? I know Father Lewis and myself are meeting tomorrow to begin work once more on the Sermon on the Mount. We're hoping to be able to take blocks of verses rather than do my usual every second letter parsing of the meaning of everything. And so we're hoping to, like I say, to get a longer piece of the structure and the wording, and we'll be doing that tomorrow. So we're kind of back to normal now. It's Thursday at 3, afternoon tea with Father Lewis and me. Oh, you're welcome, Michael. And thank you for making us laugh. Yes, it's laughter is a good medicine, and we seem to be a bit short on that at the moment. And it's part of the joy of being in the church, isn't it? I mean, we should be able to have a laugh and laugh at ourselves sometimes, because we sometimes do the most absurd things. Clergy, even more absurd. Clergy and musicians, and I'm looking at you, Father Lewis, even more absurd. But for those of you who've not seen Father Lewis with Mr. Hoppy, it is absolutely, and I'm going to use this word here, it's really, really cute. We did it for a vacation Bible school. I didn't know he was doing it until it actually happened, and he was behind this little bog that had been created out of those big card tubes and paper, and some really inventive painting, and some bits of artificial plants. And the kids were absolutely glued to him. They're wrapped in attention in a way that it's a long time since I've seen kids so focused on one thing. And they're asking questions to Mr. Hoppy. And I think, didn't they who named him Mr. Hoppy? I can't remember now. But it was really, really good. And it showed me a side of Father Lewis that the star is born, Father Lewis, who will be a YouTube viral sensation. Tom, do you have any links? I mean, if you need the original footage of the video, so you can cut Father Lewis's part out and then get it out there, just give me a call. Um, it'd be worth it. And it was really good. I mean, it was really, he's kind of very gentle frog with a really nice accent, and ask, and the kids loved it. It was just really, really good. That was his name given in the curriculum. Ah, I should have read that book before we did it, shouldn't I? Yeah, Paula says the same thing. Well, two of you read the book. Oh, oh dear, oh dear. Yeah. What's the point of having a manual for something? Hmm. Yeah, mind you, a lot of people think the Bible's like that. Basic instructions before leaving Earth. No, it's just a terrible way of looking at a relationship book. No. Yesterday, the dog was really kind of strange, and I couldn't work out why. Um, he just kept going to the door, um, and then coming back, but he didn't want to go out because it wasn't. You get used to what your dog's trying to communicate, but in this particular case, um, it I couldn't work out what it was, until Vern turned up. He was telling me that Vern was turning up. And I was actually in what we call the den, and you can see through the front windows where the car drives in. But for some special reason, he was super excited that Vern was coming home. Maybe I hadn't fed him enough. You know what dogs are like. They're so they'll take food off anyone. But it was just really interesting to see. Now, there was a TV show in the UK about this very thing, that dogs knowing when their owners were going to come back, their keepers were going to come back. And the they videoed it with people, dogs in their own homes, empty house, and the moment that they started acting differently, and they filmed it over a week, all these same people, and yet it's still called anecdotal. That dogs, maybe cats too, although you'd never be able to tell because they'd be like, and that would be their kind of tell that they know somebody's, their owner's coming back, their keeper's coming back. But with dogs, it's well documented, even if it is anecdotal. And I like to think that there's this extra sense that we are connected to creation, because we are creatures, with our fellow creatures, including the ones that are closest to us. And I learned something the other day about elephants. When an elephant looks at a human, the same dopamine things ping off in their head as when a human looks at a baby or a puppy or a kitten, which I thought was both rather cute and rather sad, considering our relationship with elephants and what we've tended to have done with them. But there are more connections with our creatureliness than we know, and we should remember our creatureliness. So let's just read these before I go off. Tom, excellent. Will there be a socially distant backup gospel choir? Ooh, wouldn't that be nice? At the moment, we're not supposed to sing in church. The people who are in the pews singing, they've got their masks on. I'm well away distance from everybody, which is why I removed my mask. But no, not at the moment. I mean, what we could do is build up a gospel choir, one by one, by using modern technology. Get people to sing it in. We can just, auto tune it and make it right and everything. That would be a work in progress, though. Lewis, yes, you were the funny guy, and your straight guy, well, straight woman was Johnette. Yeah, she was the serious side of things. And then, oh yes, Johnette needs a little praise. Couldn't have done my performance without her help. That's true. Well, you always need your foil, which is probably why we work so well, Father Lewis, in a kind of Laurel and Hardy, Abbott Costello Two Stooges way. Kit, there is so much you don't know about cats. That is completely true. Um, Cats are a strange phenomenon. They are weird. What is it? Gods see their keepers as gods. Cats know that they are God, which seems to be true. And with that, I'm going to end because it's now 11 o'clock. So thanks so much for sharing this time with me. I really do appreciate it, and it's good to have this banter. And if I've brought any kind of joy and laughter into your life, well, I'm happy to have done that. If I've made you think a bit more about what it means to be a Christian, about the world in which we live, and about those who are suffering, hello thunderstorm, then I'm happy to have done that as well. In the meantime, please do keep me in your prayers as you are in mine, and hopefully I will see you on Thursday. Until then, stay safe and God bless.